Right now, somewhere, a person is working a 40-hour week and getting less done than someone else who worked 4. That is not a typo and it is not a fantasy. It is what happens when most of the hours in a normal week are not actually work. They are motion. Meetings that could have been messages, emails that could have waited, hours spent looking busy so nobody asks what you actually finished. Today I want to show you the 4-hour rule, a simple idea that flips the whole equation. 4 focused hours can outproduce 40 scattered ones, and once you see why, you will never look at a calendar the same way again. Picture a normal Tuesday. You arrive at your desk at 9. By 11 you have answered 40 emails, sat through 2 meetings, and helped 3 people with things that were not your job. You feel productive. You are exhausted. And if someone asked what you actually created today, the honest answer is nothing yet. This is the busy trap, and almost everyone falls into it. We measure our days in hours occupied instead of problem solved. We confirm attendance instead of tracking output. The 40-hour week was built for factories where showing up at the machine for 8 hours produced 8 hours of parts. But most of us are not making parts anymore. We are thinking, writing, deciding, creating, and those things do not scale with hours the way factory work does. So the calendar fills up, the inbox never empties, and at the end of the week you are tired in a way that has nothing to do with what you built. You built almost nothing, you just stayed occupied. Here is the rule. Most people can produce more real value in 4 hours of true, undistracted focus than they produce in 40 hours of fragmented, interrupted, meeting-filled busyness. This is not a claim that you should only work 4 hours a day, though for some people that becomes true. It is a claim about where the value actually comes from. In almost every job, a small number of hours account for almost all the meaningful output. The report that changes the client's mind. The code that fixes the actual bug instead of patching around it. The proposal that gets funded. These things get built in short, intense windows, not spread evenly across a long, tired week. The other 36 hours are mostly maintenance, communication, and motion. Necessary sometimes, but not where the real value gets created. Once you separate those 2 categories, everything about how you plan your week starts to change. If 4 focused hours can outproduce 40 scattered ones, why does almost nobody actually work this way? Part of it is cultural. We were raised on the idea that hours equal effort and effort equals worth. Leaving early feels like cheating, even when you finished the thing that mattered. Staying late feels like dedication, even when the extra hours produced nothing but tired eyes and one more scroll through the same inbox. Part of it is a rule called Parkinson's law, and once you know it, you will see it everywhere. Work expands to fill the time available for it. Give yourself a full week for a task and it will somehow take the full week, full of small delays, extra checking, and second guessing. Give yourself one focused afternoon for the same task and, remarkably often, it gets done in the afternoon. And part of it is simple avoidance. Deep focused work is uncomfortable. It asks something of you. Answering 40 easy emails feels productive and asks nothing hard of your brain. So we fill our hours with the easy version of busy, and we call it a full day. There is also a quieter reason, one that rarely gets said out loud. If you only give yourself 4 real hours, you have nowhere to hide. There is no 40-hour week to disappear into if the work does not go well. Stretching the same task across an entire week feels safer, because a bad hour gets buried inside dozens of others. 4 honest hours do not offer that comfort. They show you, clearly, what you actually produced, and for a lot of people that clarity is more uncomfortable than being busy ever was. Here is the principle that changes how you see every future week. Value comes from output, not from hours occupied. And once you accept that, the goal stops being fill the day and becomes protect the hours that actually matter. Think of your week as containing a small number of high-value hours hidden inside a much larger pile of low-value hours. Most people never separate the two. They treat every hour the same, so the low-value hours quietly eat the time and energy that should have gone to the high-value ones. The 4-hour rule is simply this: find your 4 highest value hours each day, protect them like they are the only hours that count, because in terms of actual output, they nearly are. Everything else in your day exists to support those 4 hours, not to compete with them. So how do you actually find and protect these hours? 4 shifts and none of them require a longer day. First, identify your peak window. For most people, this is somewhere in the morning, before the inbox has fully woken up and before meetings start stacking. Notice when your mind feels sharpest and treat that window as sacred, not as flexible time that can be moved for whoever asks first. Second, put the one task that actually matters into that window, and only that task, not 3 medium priorities. 1 real priority. If you cannot name the single most valuable thing you could do today, you are not ready to protect your 4 hours yet, because you do not know what you are protecting them for. Third, remove the option to drift. Phone away, notifications off, door closed if you have one. This is not about willpower. It is about removing the tiny decisions that let your focus leak out 1 notification at a time. Fourth, treat the remaining hours as support hours, not filler hours. Emails, meetings, small requests, all of it fits into the time around your 4 hours, not instead of them. When someone asks for a meeting during your protected window, the answer becomes simple. Any other time works better for me. None of this requires extra hours in your day. It requires deciding which 4 hours are the real ones and refusing to let the other 36 quietly swallow them. And yes, some days will not cooperate. A crisis lands, a real emergency eats your window, and the 4 hours slip. That is not failure. That is just a normal week happening to a real person. The rule is not about perfect protection every single day. It is about defaulting back to those 4 hours the next day, instead of quietly deciding the whole idea was too hard and going back to filling every hour with motion. Picture your week 3 months from now. You still show up, you still answer what needs answering, but somewhere in the middle of each day sits a block of time that nobody touches. In that block, the real work gets done, the work that actually moves your career, your business, your goals forward. The strange part is you start finishing the week with more energy, not less, because you are no longer spending 40 hours pretending that motion is the same thing as progress. You know exactly which 4 hours mattered, and you can point to what came out of them. That is the whole idea. Not work less for the sake of working less. Work on purpose, in the hours that actually count, and stop pretending the other 36 were ever where the value lived. Here is your first step. Tomorrow, before anything else fills your calendar, block 4 hours and write down the one task that matters most. Protect that window like it is the only part of your day that counts, because it might be. If this changed how you think about your week, subscribe. I make videos like this every week for people who are done confusing busy with valuable. See you in the next one.